the world news. Testifying witness says George Floyd died during police arrest. World leaders call for international pandemic treaty. President Ramaphosa ordered ANC members charged with corruption charges to quit. Good afternoon and welcome to ITV World News. I am Wilson Omasho. President Muhammadu Buhari is expected to submit supplementary budget to the National Assembly for more funds to be made available for the procurement of equipment to battle insurgents. The President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, made this known shortly after a meeting between President Muhammadu Buhari and the leadership of the National Assembly at the Presidential Villa in Abuja. Thomas Sadu has details.
Speaking to State House correspondents, President of the Senate, Dr. Ahmed Lawan, said the meeting with President Muhammadu Buhari was primarily on how to improve security situation in the country as well as make the COVID-19 vaccine available to Nigerians. Ahmed Lawan said the federal government needs to allocate more funds to the fight against insurgency in the country, and the National Assembly is ready to assist in this direction.
We believe that we haven't had enough. We still need to approve more resources for the purchase of weapons for our armed forces, because this is the #1 priority of government, or any government really, to secure the security of the people and of course later the welfare. So we believe that we will be doing the right thing if there is a request through supplementary appropriation bill from the presidency or the executive arm of government, and then we approve.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, also told journalists at the State House that the passage of the Petroleum Industry Bill may suffer a setback due to Easter and Ramadan. He said shortly after the holidays, the bill will be given the attention it deserves.
At the time the commitment was made, we didn't take into consideration the fact of Easter break, and Ramadan is coming up as well. We're still shooting for going for end of April. But we're not going to straitjacket ourselves into that a particular date. When I say end of April, we're talking about thereabouts. Might be a week after, might be 2 weeks after at most.
President Buhari also met with the chairman of the Nigerian Governors Forum and Ekiti State Governor Kayode Fayemi. The governor's chairman told State House correspondents that the meeting with Mr. President also centered on improving the security situation in the country.
I also don't think we are naive enough to think that it's simply a military action that will resolve all these security challenges. They have root causes. And the root causes require political will. And there is a direct correlation, I've said this to you before, between insurgency in the northeast and what we're seeing manifesting itself as banditry in the northwest or kidnapping in the southwest. Some of the people involved in this are also the ones responsible for insurgency.
Thomas Sado reporting.
President Muhammadu Buhari will proceed to London, the United Kingdom today for a routine medical checkup. This was contained in a statement issued by the special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, in Abuja last night. Adesina said President Buhari will meet with security chiefs, after which he will embark on the journey. He is expected back in the country during the second week of April 2021. Edo State Governor Godwin Obaseki has hailed the verdict of the Edo 2020 Governorship Election Petition Tribunal, which dismissed all 4 petitions challenging his victory in the September 19, 2020 governorship election. In a statement, the governor noted that the ruling is yet another testament that the judiciary upholds fairness and justice. According to him, the judgment has again reassured of the impartiality of the judiciary as they continue to uphold ethos of equity and the rule of law. Governor Godwin Obaseki said the tribunal judgment is a victory for Edo people who have always believed in the good intentions of his administration. He thanked President Muhammadu Buhari for ensuring an impartial judiciary and the PDP for the unwavering commitment to the development of Edo State. The Edo State Governorship Election Petition Tribunal has affirmed the victory of Godwin Obaseki in last year's governorship poll by dismissing all petitions filed against him and his party, the PDP. Best Mbire reports that the tribunal held that the petitioners could not substantiate their claims and award 200,000 naira each to INEC, Godwin Obaseki, and Philip Schreiber against one of the petitioners, Allied People's Movement.
Ruling in one of the pending applications in the petition by the Action Democratic Party and its candidate Lucky Boy Emmanuel, the tribunal struck out the fourth and fifth respondents. The respondents are the APC and their candidate Pastor Saige Zeyamu on the grounds that they are praying the tribunal to declare them as winner of the September the 19th, 2020 governorship election. ADP in a substantive suit prayed the tribunal to nullify the election of Governor Obaseki and conduct a fresh election without the PDP and its candidate contesting in the rescheduled election, and not to declare Izeyamu and the APC winner of the election. Delivering the substantive judgment in the petition by the ADP, which lasted for about 5 hours, a member of the three-man justices of the tribunal, Justice Suleiman Yahaya Abubakar, dismissed the application for the inability of the ADP and its governorship candidate Iboy Lucky Emmanuel to prove their case beyond reasonable doubt. Petition by the Action People's Party on non-inclusion of the validly nominated candidate of the party, Amos Arelogbe, was also dismissed. The tribunal held that since the said Amos Arelogbe and his running mate Alfred Afolabi Oga, who are still alive, refused to come and testify in the petition and prove to the tribunal that they were truly excluded from the exercise, their action therefore was fatal to the petition. The tribunal said the APP cannot claim not to have participated in the election when they scored a total of 78 votes. Ruling on a third petition by the Allied People's Movement, APM, alleging irregularities and non-qualification of the governor and the deputy, the tribunal said the petitioner, rather than lead credible evidence, dumped documents in the court, saying the burden to prove a case lies with the petitioner. The tribunal said the petition was incompetent and lacking merit and was subsequently struck out. The Deputy Governor of Edo State, Philip Shaibu, reacting shortly after the judgment, said it has reaffirmed the will of the people who willingly gave their votes to Governor Godwin Obaseki.
4 plus 4 has become 8, and today again we are having 4 over 4 as far as the judgment is concerned. So you can see that 4 plus 4 is synonymous to Edo. But the good news is that this court has reaffirmed justice, it has reaffirmed the verdict of Edo people, and no man can change that verdict. And this judgment also has reaffirmed that Godfatherism is history in Edo now, and that this judgment also has reaffirmed that democracy is all about the people.
Counsel to other parties comment.
For us, we're in high spirits because we do believe that the wheel of justice grinds slowly but surely. We are going to discuss with our clients, and definitely this will not be the end of the matter.
We very much believe that the tribunal, they have done their part, and as you understand, we have another window, which is the Court of Appeal, to ventilate our case, and we are very hopeful and very optimistic that at the Court of Appeal we will have it.
The petition by Tracy Ago, who was a low petitioner, though contested the September 19, 2020 governorship election on the platform of the NNPP, was equally dismissed. Obviously, Edo people are now looking for a brighter future in order for them to reap the dividends of democracy, because the petitions that are before the Edo State Governorship Election Petitions Tribunal have all been struck out, meaning that the governor and his team are now at liberty the gains of democracy to the people of Edo State who voted for them on September 19, 2020. From the tribunal premises in Benin, Best Mbiere reporting.
Nigeria judicial system has the capacity of attracting international trade and foreign direct investment. This was the position of the President of Court of Appeal, Justice Monica Dongban Mensem, during the first session of the Court of Appeal Mediation Center in Abuja. ITV Abuja correspondent Joseph Kadri completes the report.
In a bid to ensure Nigeria's judiciary rise up and meet the challenges of adjudication in the 21st century, there is the need for mediation between litigants coordinated by the bench and the bar. Speaking during the beginning of the mediation in the Court of Appeal, the President, Justice Monica Dongban Mensem, appeals to both the bench and the bar to uphold the ideals of the Center for Quick and Amicable Resolution of Disputes.
There is also a need for us to build a culture where peaceful resolution of disputes becomes more attractive and indeed a better choice than litigation. I appeal to the bench and bar to uphold the ideals of the Center for Quick, Amicable Resolution of Disputes. This can be achieved if all sides imbibe the highest code of ethics and global best practices in the operation of the Center.
Dongban Mensem assures that the alternative dispute resolution will improve employment and domestic economy, attract international trade and foreign direct investment.
The overriding objective of the Court of Appeal Mediation Center is to promote mediation and such other alternative dispute resolution mechanisms as that enhance the administration of justice and produce speedy resolution of disputes. Thus, the Center seeks to promote a just and speedy determination of every civil and criminal appeals, expeditious and less onerous dispute resolution process, such as the mediation process.
Appellate mediation is now part of the global legal lexicon, straddling the appellate courts of countries like the United States of America, United Kingdom, and Thailand. Joseph Kadri, ITV News, Abuja.
Attempts by civil societies in Benin City to protest a sharp increase in prices of cement in Edo State was yesterday disrupted by security agencies. Fosa Wangwe reports that the security personnel, mainly attached to the Edo State Police Command, locked the protesters inside the museum ground at the King Square, where they had gathered as takeoff point.
The sharp increase in price of cement in Edo State from 1,800 few years ago to 2,700 and now to 4,300 per 12 kg bag against 3,300 naira in other states is posing threats and hindrance to prospective land developers from embarking on fresh projects. Consequently, some civil societies early Monday mobilized for a peaceful protest to make the government and relevant authorities to prevail on the various manufacturers and middlemen to reduce the price. However, the peaceful protest was cut short after stern-looking security agents locked up the protesters inside the museum ground, which was their takeoff point. Spokespersons for the civil societies, however, assured that they will not be deterred by the temporary setbacks.
The role of the police is to maintain law and order, not to intimidate us. We cannot buy a bag of cement. A bag of cement is sold in Edo State between 4,000 naira to 400 and 600 naira. There is a conspiracy by the manufacturing companies to hack the price.
What a pity that they have enslaved us politically. Now they want to enslave us economically. That's why we say no. Today we have been restricted. Our freedom of movement has been restricted by CP of Edo State. We are giving the manufacturer company of cement 14 days of cement to revoke all the increments.
We are citizens, but we are living like refugees. How can you tell me that cement that was sold for 2,2 is now 4,2 and nobody is saying anything?
Obaseki, you are the chief security officer of this state. Set up a task force, set up a price control mechanism that when we cut across the 192 wards in Edo State.
Although the police authorities refused to comment on camera, Assistant Commissioner of Police in charge of operations, James Chu, said their action was to ensure that the exercise was not hijacked by angry youths as experienced during the NSAS protests. Efosa Wangwe reporting.
NBC, the broadcast media regulator in Nigeria, has called on all broadcasting stations owing broadcast license fees to have their debts settled before the 31st of March 2021. The NBC maintained that the federal government has granted a 60% waiver to debtor stations and a 30% discount to new licenses and those due for renewal in 2020. The payment relief was implemented during the COVID-19 pandemic and was applied to mitigate the pandemic's severe economic impact. According to the NBC, stations owing license renewal fees from 1st of April 2021 will be documented as illegally operating stations. As such, will experience jam signals. NBC urges all broadcasting stations to ensure that their licenses renewal fees are settled before the 31st of March 2021 to avoid disappointment. Reacting to the development after a crucial meeting between NBC and IBAN, the Vice Chairman of Broadcasting Association of Nigeria, IBAN, Alhaji Ahmed Tijani Ramalan, said presently the federal government and the Central Bank of Nigeria has committed a 500 billion naira to the aviation industry and spent over 3 trillion naira in the last 8 years bailing out banks, and appealed for such benevolence to be extended to the news and media industry. The IBAN Vice Chairman assured the NBC that IBAN is on standby to support and partner in the public awareness, which is very critical for the success of the next phase of the DSO by all channels. Alhaji Ramalan congratulated the Director General and his team on the rollout of Phase 2 of Nigeria DSO, which will commence in most populous and commercially viable locations in Lagos, Kano, and Rivers states. The switch on will be formally done in Lagos on the 29th of April 2021, while the first analog switch off is scheduled for 28th of May 2021 in Abuja. President Muhammadu Buhari yesterday launched the Decade of Gas in Nigeria with a pledge that his administration would fully utilize the enormous gas resources in the country to uplift the economy and drive industrialization. ITV Abuja State House correspondent Ikaro Atta completes the report.
President Muhammadu Buhari inaugurates the Decade of Gas in Nigeria at the council chambers of the presidential villa, setting the tone for the development of the industry in the next 10 years. President Buhari said given the country's potential of about 600 trillion cubic feet of gas, the commodity has the enormous potential of diversifying the Nigeria's economy.
Remarkable progress has been made to achieve this objective. This includes developing gas infrastructure, promoting domestic utilization of LPG and CNG, commencing the process of commercializing gas flares, development of industrial and transport gas markets, and increasing gas to power.
The president told participants at the pre-summit that while his administration has prioritized gas development and recorded remarkable progress, it is well known that Nigeria is a gas nation with little oil, but the country has focused on non-oil over the years. Enumerating what his administration has done to energize the sector, President Buhari said the development of gas infrastructure has commenced along with the domestic utilization of the LPG and CNG, as well as the process of commercializing gas flaring development of industry and transport gas market and increasing gas to power. According to President Buhari, NLNG, which contributes about 1% to GDP, has generated about $114 billion in revenue over the years, $9 billion in taxes, $18 billion in dividends to the federal government, and $15 billion in feed gas purchase.
but the country has focused on oil over the years. That is the paradox that this administration decided to confront when we declared the year 2020 as the year of gas in Nigeria. It was a bold statement to demonstrate the resolve of this administration that gas development and utilization should be a national priority to stimulate economic growth, further improve Nigeria's energy mix, drive investments, and provide the much-needed jobs for our citizens in the country.
President Buhari affirmed that later this year, Nigeria will host the 4th International Petroleum Summit in Abuja. From the Aso Rock Presidential Villa, Ikaro Atta, ITV News, Abuja.
You're watching the World News on ITV. Still to come, testifying witness says George Floyd died during police arrest. Details of this and more after this break.
Congratulations and celebrations.
A leader is best when people barely know he exists. When his work is done, his aim fulfilled, they will say, we did it ourselves. Hooray! It's 100 days of redefining unionism in Edo State as NUJ ITV Radio Chapel under the leadership of Best Mbere, as she and her team cordially invites you to the official groundbreaking ceremony and inauguration of projects to mark 100 days in office of the executive under the distinguished chairmanship of Dr. Dori Afe E. Okoji, a Lagos-based businessman, father of the day and patron NUJ. His Excellency, the Deputy Governor of Edo State, Right Honorable Comrade Philip Shaibu, will be on the ground to perform the groundbreaking ceremony. Amiable guest of honor, Senior Apostle Dr. David Onoefe, General Overseer, Christ Chosen Church of God International, Special Guest of Honor, Ambassador Wesley Asoro, Managing Director, Wesley Hotel and Suite. Special guest, Prince Louis Osobase, Managing Director and CEO, Wasina Global Service Limited. Mr. Osaze Igbinovia, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Sazi Oil and Gas Nigeria Limited. Guest speaker, Comrade Austin Osakwe. Topic, Interfacing Unionism with Journalism as a Profession. Date, April 1st, 2021. Time, 11 a.m. Venue, ITV Radio Communications Village, Igwosa, Oloko, Benin City. Come, let's celebrate vision being transformed into reality. Please note that COVID-19 protocols will be strictly adhered to. Signed, Local Organizing Committee.
Congratulations and jubilate.
And in a foreign scene, a witness has told the court of the last harrowing minutes of George Floyd's life on the opening day of the trial of Derek Chauvin, the white American policeman accused of killing him. The trial is being seen by many as a pivotal moment in the U.S. race relations. Deborah Bayfon has details.
The witness for the prosecution, Donald Williams III, told the court that he saw the victim, George Floyd, gradually dying during the 9 minutes the police officer kneeled on his back and neck. The 33-year-old witness said that he had been planning to enter the Cobb Foods shop in Minnesota, but he witnessed the arrest of Mr. Floyd on the 25th of May 2020. He said he decided against entering the shop because the energy was off and instead began a conversation with the arresting police officer and urged him to check Mr. Floyd's pulse.
The more you see Floyd fade away and slowly fade away, and like the fish in the bag, you seen his eyes slowly, pale out and again slowly roll to the back of his eyes.
At the start of the trial, the prosecutor began by showing the 9-minute-long videotape shot by one of the bystander that showed the police officer kneeling on the 46-year-old Mr. Floyd. Prosecutor Jerry Backwell told jurors that Mr. Floyd said 27 times that he could not breathe. He said the tape proved that the police officer engaged in behavior that was immensely dangerous without regards for its impact on the body of George Floyd.
On May 25th of 2020, Mr. Derek Chauvin betrayed this badge when he used excessive and unreasonable force upon the body of Mr. George Floyd.
Defense lawyer Eric Nelson, in his opening statement, said the evidence is far greater than 9 minutes and 29 seconds of video footage and argued that the use of force, though unattractive, but was necessary by his clients.
The evidence will show that Mr. Floyd died of a cardiac arrhythmia that occurred as a result of hypertension, his coronary disease, the ingestion of methamphetamine and fentanyl, and the adrenaline flowing through his body.
The May 2020 incident in which a police officer was captured on video kneeling on the neck of George Floyd sparked protests in the US and across the world against police brutality and racism. The police officer, who was dismissed from the police, denied murder and manslaughter charges, which carry sentences of up to 40 years in prison. Deborah Ubefun reporting.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has joined more than 20 world leaders in calling for a new global settlement to help the world prepare for future pandemics. The leader said a treaty similar to that reached in the wake of World War II is needed to build cross-border cooperation. Deborah Ubefun has details.
The world leaders, including French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Angela Merkel, writes in newspaper around the world that COVID has posed the biggest challenge since World War II. The signatories, who include the head of World Health Organization, Dr. Trudeau Ghebreyesus, said to address the challenges posed by the coronavirus pandemic could only be achieved together in the spirit of solidarity and cooperation towards peace, prosperity, health and security. The leaders say that in the same spirit, countries must now be better prepared to predict, prevent, detect, access and effectively respond to pandemics in a highly coordinated fashion. The leaders also agreed that the new treaty will help to establish better system for alerting people about potential pandemic and also improve of sharing of data and distribution of vaccines and personal protective equipment. Deborah Ubefun reporting.
Brazil far-right President Jair Bolsonaro has replaced 6 cabinet ministers as his popularity nosedive over his handling of the pandemic. Brazil's health service is reported to be on the brink of collapse as the country battles a deadly second wave. The move is said to be the biggest reshuffle since Mr. Bolsonaro came into power 2 years ago. He has consistently opposed quarantine measures, arguing that the damage to the economy would be worse than the effects of the virus itself. The president's loyal foreign minister, Ernesto Araújo, stepped down after he was heavily criticized by lawmakers over the weekend for damaging Brazil's international standing. They said his poor handling of relations with China, India and US meant Brazil had insufficient quantities of COVID-19 vaccine. The latest surge in case has been attributed to the spread of highly contagious variants of the virus. More than 300,000 people have died of COVID-19 in Brazil, with more than 12 million confirmed cases. The Irish government is expected to make a decision later today about easing COVID-19 restrictions in the Republic of Ireland. Irish Prime Minister Michael Martin said the restriction will begin to be eased from next month after restrictions were considered by the Irish Cabinet Committee on COVID-19 on Monday night. However, the country's National Public Health Emergency Team has recommended a cautious approach. The Irish Prime Minister Michael Martin is expected to set out a plan for a broader relaxation in May and June, with the return of non-essential retail, outdoor dining and personal services. The Republic has been under its highest level of coronavirus restrictions since 30 December. The Kenyan Ministry of Health says the country is facing an acute shortage of oxygen in hospitals across the country. Health Minister Mutahi Kagwe said Kenyans are boarding about 20,000 oxygen cylinders in private facilities, homes and institutions, which he attributed to the rising number of COVID-19 cases in the country. He said the cylinders were desperately needed in public hospitals to save lives and appealed to Kenyans to take them back to manufacturers. Kenya has so far confirmed more than 130,000 cases of coronavirus infections and over 2,000 deaths. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has told members of his party they must resign within 30 days of being charged with corruption or face suspension. President Cyril gave the order while addressing an executive meeting of the African National Congress. Ramaphosa has been at loggerhead with the ANC Secretary General Ace Magashule, who's denied corruption charges against him and has refused to step aside. The president pledged to clamp down on corruption in the ANC after becoming party leader in 2017. Magashule is a close ally of the former president Jacob Zuma, who was forced out of office by a corruption scandal. Party officials have been asked to compile lists of those facing charges. The International Criminal Court will rule today on an appeal by the Democratic Republic of Congo's rebel leader Bosco Ntaganda against his conviction for war crimes. The former commander, nicknamed the Terminator, was given a 30-year jail sentence in 2019 after being found guilty on 18 counts, including murder, rape, and using child soldiers. The charges related to crimes carried out in the mineral-rich Ituri region of the Democratic Republic of Congo in 2002 and 2003. Prosecutors are asking the judges to consider a tougher sentence. He was the first person to be convicted by the court of sexual slavery. Britain has called for an emergency UN Security Council meeting on the situation in Myanmar, where scores of anti-coup protesters were killed over the weekend, diplomatic sources said Monday. Deborah Bayfun has details.
The 15 Security Council members will begin the session behind closed doors on Wednesday with a briefing on the situation by the UN Special Envoy on Myanmar, Christine Scuruna-Burgina. On March 10th, the Security Council for the first time issued a declaration strongly condemning the Myanmar security forces' use of violence against peaceful protesters that included women and children. The declaration had been led by former colonial power Britain, but the Security Council would not agree to make any reference to a coup or the possibility of international sanctions if the Myanmar military continued its attack on protesters. On February 4, the Security Council voiced deep concerns over the military coup in Myanmar and called for the release of all detainees, including Aung San Suu Kyi. The United Nations said at least 107 people, including 7 children, were killed following the coup. Deborah Ugbefon reporting.
And now, talking sports, preparations are in top gear at the Samuel Ogbubia Stadium and other designated venues for the 20th National Sport Festival hosted by Edo State. Kingsley Uchebo, who monitors some activities in the different venues ahead of the competition, has details.
As Edo State sets to host the 20th edition of the National Sports Festival, postponed 3 times due to the COVID-19 pandemic, preparations for the 2020 National Sports Festival have intensified at the Samuel Ogbubia Stadium and other venues for the event scheduled to commence on 2nd April 2021. Vaccination of over 900 athletes and officials have commenced in preparations for the sports festival. Some athletes and their coordinators comment on preparations.
Very well prepared. I'm very prepared for it. Currently, went for African Championship in Egypt, and my position up there, at least that one gave me an edge, like, showed I'm very well prepared. In cycling, we have about 9 events, and I'm going to feature in 4 events, and I'm sure I'm going to get medals, good medals.
For cricket, we are very prepared. I can tell you that we have had a series of games. So I can tell you since January, there is no weekend each of the cricket teams, both for male and female, have not been having games. So for us, we are already ready in fixed deposits.
The consultant for this event, they have done a perfect arrangement, and there's absolutely nothing to fear. The place is beautiful, as you can see, lovely state-of-the-art facilities.
Most of the athletes that are coming to compete with Edo State are Edo indigenes that have gone to other states. So why have they gone? So we need to find out. If not because of all these athletes running away, we have always, taken the lead. But this time around, we are even third or second, which is not proper. So we should take our rightful position.
Meanwhile, finishing touches on rehabilitation of facilities, including cleaning of swimming pools, tennis courts at the Obe Stadium, basketball pitch on Wire Road, watering of the natural grass turf at Western Boys, Ipoba Hill, Benin City, were being carried out as at Monday. This year's edition of the National Sports Festival, referred to Nigeria's version of the Olympics, presents another opportunity for harnessing talents. Kingsley Uchebu reporting.
Following the Super Eagles qualification for the 2021 African Cup of Nations holding in Cameroon in October, football fans have urged the team to outrightly win the tournament. Pius Nsogo has details.
The Super Eagles secured victory over the Squirrels of Benin Republic 1-0 in Porto Novo to retain their place at the top of the group, having already qualified for 2021 AFCON in Cameroon. Some football fans said the Super Eagles must not relax but continue to work hard, especially against the backdrop that they will round off their 2021 AFCON qualifying campaign on Tuesday when they host Lesotho in Lagos.
No, my advice to Nigeria players is for them to buckle their bet and put more seriousness. First, they should have the interest of making Nigeria team a better team.
The team has already qualified. Yes, we are happy about that. But that should not be a way of them to relax. They should go all out and win their next match so that the victory will be total.
And I believe that if Genatro can bring the boys together and the NFF can also call for a campaign before the tournament, I think Super Eagles will go to Cameroon and bring the trophy back.
The first ever meeting between the Super Eagles and the Crocodiles of Lesotho was in 2006 during the 2008 AFCON qualifier, which they won first leg 1-0. Pius Nsogo reporting.
The Nigerian Football Federation has announced that the Confederation of African Football has cleared Super Eagles forward Alex Nwobi to play in Nigeria's game against Lesotho. The NFF disclosed this in a tweet today, hours before the African Cup of Nations qualifier, which will be played at the Teslim Balogun Stadium in Lagos today. It was earlier reported that the officials of the Super Eagles team questioned Nwobi's COVID-19 positive test result that forced the Everton FC man to miss Nigerians' AFCON qualifier against Benin Republic last Saturday. The 24-year-old Everton man was replaced by Galatasaray's Henry Onyekuru in the game, which ended 1-0 in favor of the Eagles. The test result also meant that Nwobi, who immediately went into isolation, may not feature in the team's game against Lesotho. However, the NFF in a tweet this morning announced that further tests carried out on the player returned negative. To end the world news, a look again at the top stories. A witness has told the court of the last harrowing minutes of George Floyd's life on the opening day of the trial of Derek Chauvin, the white American policeman accused of killing him. And British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has joined more than 20 world leaders in calling for a new global settlement to help the world prepare for future pandemics. South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has told members of his party they must resign within 30 days of being charged with corruption or face suspension. And that's it on the World News. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye for now.
Independent television, certainly the best.